why don't we move on to the Leafs defense here? We got Riley and Brody up top, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, Riley Rover, TJ Brody defenseman. That's how that pairing works. Yeah, that was a huge addition this year. Like really, really subtle at first. I mean, I think a lot of people had high expectations just being optimistic Leaf fans. But yeah, he's been fast. So guy played there on the top pairing this year. So that's good. But yeah, those two at the top pairing. Riley playing for power play minutes, which is kind of tough watching. The second unit or the second pairing has been predominantly, I think, their best pairing. They've struggled a little bit down the stretch. It's been Muzzin and Hall. They've been absolutely phenomenal for the most part. Hall's a really good skater for his size. I think that's an underrated attribute that he has. Muzzin, obviously, grizzled. Him and Anderson are going to have some sick battles in this playoff series. That's going to be fun to watch. I think my biggest concern, if Bogosian isn't healthy in time for the series, is that third pairing. I mean, Hutton's a big boy. He can move around. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Dermott. I mean, I think he's one of those kids who has all the skill in the world. I don't think he thinks the game right. I think the hockey IQ isn't there. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rasmus Sandin on that third pairing, maybe with Bogosian. If Bogosian's back fully healthy, I don't think you can run Sandin and Dermott together. But yeah, I think that would be my one issue. I think in this series could be that third pairing for the Leafs, depending on what Keefe wants to do there. I think a lot rides on if Bogosian's healthy or not.
Now we're on. I mean, I don't. No one look at the tape, but I'm pretty sure I said Brody would be absolute dog shit. Fairly confident. I think that was said.
Love your honesty.
Well, hey, I mean, it's all recorded now, so there's no hiding. Hey, was that you wearing a hat? Yeah, that was me. Like when Brody left Calgary, I thought he'd be in trouble going to Toronto. I just because Giordano was just so steady. But no, he's definitely settled in quietly. You don't notice him, and that's what you want. So yeah, that the first pairing. I mean, Riley has another notch too. I don't think the season was. I think he can.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He can bring it up, and maybe that's a sign of maturity. The season is what it is. Let's bring it in the playoffs. Sandin. I mean, did he stop playing because of cap? Is that what it was? That toward the end of the year they had cap problems?
Yeah, that's what the whole rumors were. That's why he came out of the lineup with cap issues.
I mean, he's our Romanov, right? You get in those conversations. They're the blue chip next wave coming up. That's I mean, it could be coming out party for either one. I mean, if he plays, maybe he insulates that third pair. Maybe he is what's needed there. I mean, it's funny with the Leafs. It's so hard to. That's what flows it so well. Meanwhile, on our side, it's at times it feels like it's two different types of playing going on. So that's probably why we've ended up where we have ended up sometimes. But I just don't see any glaring holes in the Leafs side. I mean, Muzzin's just a goddamn giant pain in the ass on our end. But him and Anderson, they'll have their battle. I would assume it's the Riley line versus Gallagher. But it does leave some, from our end, it does leave some opportunity. I find just on our, like, we do have those four lines that can go. So, Corey Perry's of the world, depending what lines they end up on, there could be some opportunity. Top four of the Leafs, just like the top six, very solid, ready to go. It's the bottom kind of, you just don't quite know how that's going to operate.
Exactly.
And if we have an opportunity, that's where it's going to be, just based on depth. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna not catch myself being a shithead and undervaluing any of them. So yeah, I think there's some definite talent there. Matt, anything?
Yeah, I would say I think there's opportunity for us to maybe exploit Morgan Riley defensively a little bit here and there, especially if we can get him stuck in his own zone. You don't want him with the puck because he's just so good with it. Yeah, Jake Muzzin is definitely like game changer for the Leafs. That pickup a couple years ago, that veteran cup presence on the back end. He's just you're going to get the big minutes out of him, and he's not going to disappoint. Consistent every night. Justin Hall is just like that's absolutely completed the Leafs top four this season. Definitely not something I would have been counting on at all. You got to give the credit to the Leafs professional scouting or amateur scouting if they picked him up young, right? But yeah, that's been huge for them. He's been steady. And but yeah, definitely the bottom pair, like Tyler said, if Bogosian isn't healthy, I mean, Ben Hutton, he's a big body, but he is not who you want on your playoff roster on your bottom pair. So if that's what you're relying on, I think we definitely have an opportunity there to have a guy like that in, hopefully get him making some mistakes in the D zone, and definitely Sandine over Dermott. I think that definitely makes sense as well, and he's a young kid who I think could prove himself in these playoffs. He could do. He stint with at the end of the season. He fantastic on their power play and great moving the puck. So he seems like the type of the defenseman that would mesh very well with the style that the Leafs like to play, containing the puck, holding onto it, and I think he would work really well with the forwards as well. So yeah, I think there's opportunity defensively to exploit the Leafs, other than that Muzzin and Justin Hall line. But yeah, it looks good. I mean, I think Habs and Leafs would have the best two defenses in the North Division.
Oh yeah, I think so. Calgary's pretty good, but they underachieved.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, when you flip the switch over and then you start going through our top six, I mean, it's a different mix. I would assume, Shea Weber with his injured wrist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, but it was all a sham.
His
wrist is fine. He's ready to go.
I asked him what was wrong with his wrist too.
He apparently there could be some ligament damage in there. Our sleuth of the Montreal media, Tony Marinaro, who I believe
Jesus Christ,
claims there's ligament damage. I actually watched the segment this morning. Don't ask me why.
He probably did he probably did do it cross-checking someone in the corner or something.
Probably, yeah. It's probably like Draisaitl or somebody. But he should be back. I mean, he was doing gag injury moves when he saw the camera on him last week. Like I think he should be okay, but he was spotted with a wrist brace during a photo shoot for the it was the hospital, or there was some sort of signing going on, or sorry, his vaccinations. They were getting vaccinated and he had a wrist brace on. So
yeah,
he could be banged up, but him and Sherratt, I mean, people can't stand that lineup in Montreal in some cases. I think when it comes to a playoff series, that's who you want. As long as the team's playing like a unit, like we were talking about with Toronto, like you need everyone to play together. So the forwards are on the same page as the defense. We should be in good shape there, because otherwise the cycle game, like Tyler was saying earlier, that's how you can exploit them if they're not on the same page. But there's going to be a fight for ice with those two. I pity whoever goes to that front of that net or into the corner, because Weber and Sherratt will just absolutely put the lumber to them. And I guess depends on the series is going to be reffed. That's probably the biggest thing.
That's a good point.
But I mean, that's their game. They play simple, they play effective, and they can walk that line as they have to. And that's what they did last year. And that's probably the key to success there. Edmondson, Petrie. I mean, Edmondson, people made fun of that signing too. Yeah, I find most of our debates isn't like Leafs and Habs, it's Habs. It's our own like internal shit going on. Edmondson, I don't have any. I think he's solid. He plays a tough game. Compliments Petrie really, really well. I think Petrie's starting to pick it up. So at least we have an offensive weapon there. But he's as good as any. Top four. Whether you put them as first pairing or second, he's ready to play two-way hockey there. Our third pairing, again, there's some question marks there. I think we go Kulak Romanov, but Kulak Merrill could be it. I haven't been really impressed by Merrill. I don't know about you, Matt, but I mean, he's veteran, but do you play him? I mean, he hasn't proven himself.
Yeah, I've definitely not seen the buzz that came out of Detroit. A lot of people got hyped on he's one of the better shutdown guys on Detroit. His analytics look good. I mean, people make mistakes evaluating defensemen with advanced analytics. It's just not. They're the type of player I think. You can fucking show me your percentage XGF, whatever the hell, but you need to see what these guys do when they're challenged and they have a lack of time and space. And I don't know if it's maybe he's injured or tired too, but yeah, I definitely haven't seen the hype on Merrill. But I love Weber's definitely going to play. I'm hoping that the injury isn't bad enough, or I hope he's healed enough that we actually get truly what he's capable of, because he has struggled out of the last month and a half he played. It was getting questionable, and I think a big part of it was the consistency. He looked fine, and he'd do make the right choices and do the right things for portions, and then it would just be blunders, and you could tell he didn't have it. So hopefully he's healed up enough that he can really make the impact that we know he can. And then I agree with you. I would love to see Kulak get a few minutes here and there with him because I think he can, alleviate some of the puck moving pressure, get the puck to our forwards very quickly. But for the most part, Ben Sherratt, I think is you just got to lean on them. They'll have to be the rock, shutting down that top six and really kind of wearing them down, because I think that's what the Habs have to do in this series to have a chance to win, is make it go long, get to the Leafs early, so they can extend this and make it go long, and then wear them down to the point where they hate playing against us and are afraid to, get the game going that they are typically known for. And that would be that cycle and hem us in and whatnot. But yeah, so definitely the first one. And Petrie and Edmondson, Petrie, we need him at his MVP status. He's got over 40 points this season. We need him getting up on the board pretty much every game. That's going to be key to us, whether it's a couple assists or a big goal. And I think I'm definitely completely comfortable with Edmondson. I think he's been our best defenseman all season consistently by a long shot. And he does complement Petrie well. And then Romanov, another kid that a long grueling season, if he's rested up, he is so strong defensively. I think he can make an impact in not only defensively but his physical play as well. Anytime he's out there against Matthews, he's going to be on him. Yeah, so Merrill, or what would the other option be?
Gustafson. Let's just not.
Exactly. Like putting Mete on waivers, and you say what you will about Victor Mete, he could have an impact, I think, more so than what, maybe I'm underestimating a guy who put up 60 points a couple years ago in Gustafson, but I don't know. There was a couple games when I was sitting watching them, and Mete was doing things out there in the offensive zone that got me out of my chair, especially on the power play when he had a chance here and there. He can skate and he can pass. I don't know. It just sucks. The fact that we lose a prospect, and then just to replace them with guys who they're not going to be on the team next year, and the impact isn't as, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there's definite. I mean, it makes you wonder how long Weber's injury specifically has been lingering, because they went and got a Merrill who plays that style. Like, I mean, go grab. I mean, you get depth, but we had defensive depth. But we had a lot of it. Gustafson was a cheap Mete replacement, so called out for what it was, a failure. That was a useless pickup. But like, it makes you wonder how long was Weber battling that, and how early do they think they would clinch? Because it took a lot longer than they thought it was going to. Yeah. And Merrill has not been the answer, but Gustafson was just, you watch YouTube videos and you kind of go through his season to see when he got his points. Duncan Keith made him get all those points. Like I watched those videos and I was like, fucking guy he waits for the one timer. Like he's a very, very poor man's Shea Weber. Everyone thought he was going to come in and be like, he's going to run the power play. Like, good luck. It didn't happen. But yeah, losing Mete, I mean, Twitter's Twitter. I mean, losing Mete, all of a sudden you're anti-Mete if you were not upset about it when it happened. I mean, losing an asset's terrible. I mean, Toronto, Tyler, you guys lost a fair bit of prospects the last few years because of roster issues. Cap issues, yeah. It happens, and it's absolute dog shit. And it is failing technically, because you don't lose an asset for nothing, but it happens. And I just, in Montreal's case, I think because the train wreck season that it was, their up and down season, it made it that much worse. But I mean, you guys lost Jimmy Vesey this year. I mean, that's Montreal. We burned the city down. Like, it's just like
Travis Boyd was playing good for them at first.
Yep.
I mean, like losing Cap and Johansson in the off season, losing players. I mean, whenever your team's getting better, that stuff's going to happen. It's inevitable. I mean, obviously, he looked really good as an 18-year-old or 19-year-old first game into the league and all that, skate and all that stuff. But sometimes those guys take a little longer, and sometimes Montreal doesn't have the time to wait. And he's gone to a good situation. Hopefully, he turns out to be a good player, and I don't think it's going to burn Montreal long term either. I don't see the kid turning into some kind of superstar, so I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm definitely not butthurt about it. My only thing is that it's just like, hate to see the homegrown talent out somewhere else when you bring in another piece that is going to play the role exactly the same way, or whatever. Yeah. But
especially in Ottawa, who we're about to all hate miserably
for the next few years. A good hockey team. That's a good hockey team.
Mind you, Melnyk will get rid of anybody that wants more than $7 million, so
right.
It should be okay. But yeah, defense. I mean, matchup wise, how that all goes. I mean, I think it's I guess I'll throw it out there on the Montreal side. Tyler, you can do the same, or Matt for the Leafs end. I think it's clear you're gonna have. I think it's obviously Weber Sherrod versus the Matthews line when we can do it. Matthews will try to get out against Romanoff and Kulak when they can do it for last change, I would assume. Petrie, Edmondson with Tavares, and then the bottom four, the bottom six. I mean, it is what it is. I think that's where you slide in Romanoff and Kulak on our end. But on your guys, like who are you matching?
Well, like I said, I think it all depends on how Keith wants to go about this. If you want to put the Nash as a shutdown line, I think you play them with Muzzin Hall. And then, I mean, you could play the third pairing, get them out there with both the first line and second line throughout the game, kind of help them out, so they're not out there with the bottom six guys. And then Riley and, and Brody just pick up everywhere else. Well, it's just so dependent on how Leafs want to play this. I'm just finding it so interesting. But when the game's going to Montreal, I think it's Muzzin and Hall. That's who you're running out there against Suzuki. And then after that, I don't think the Leafs will necessarily be chasing as much. I think their main priority will probably get Hall and Muzzin against the Suzuki line. And I don't see them chasing a whole lot for other matchups throughout the rest of that forward group.
Does Keith play a matching style? Like
Not
we're so used
really.
to Julian, because we're used to Julian from before. That was like line A. I guess like that's what he would do.
Well, yeah.
And,
So the only time, like even like Keith last year, obviously his first time when in the Columbus series, and like they didn't really do a whole lot of matching up. Obviously, you want to get your top guys out against that Dubois line when he was with Columbus and all that guy, your top pairing. But I think that's mostly the only matchup. Really, like a lot of teams really probably do is try to get your top pairing or your shutdown pairing against the top unit of the other team, and then after that, I mean, third line, maybe cancel out. Second line versus second line, maybe cancel out. But I don't see the Leafs chasing a whole lot of matchups. I think they obviously want to shut down that Suzuki line. Because if you shut down the Suzuki line, I mean, I don't think you're scared of where else the goal scoring is coming from Montreal. And that's not taking a shot at them. But I think if you shut down the Suzuki line, you got to love your chances of
take as many shots as you can.
But yeah, so I mean, if you shut down that, I think that's the only. Well, I don't, like I said, I don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only thing that they'll be chasing is just shutting down that Suzuki line. That's Muzzin Hall's job. And then, you want to play. Do you want to play Riley with the top line for the passing ability, hitting the outlets and all that stuff, the skating with the top line? But yeah, I just think it's going to be Muzzin Hall versus Suzuki line. I think that's the only matchup the Leafs will probably be chasing defensively anyway.
Yeah, it's so I can't shake the Anderson Muzzin out of my head. Like they've just throughout the year, I think it's just the way. And I guess Anderson's been on a few different lines this year. So that's where like I'm in my head. If Anderson's off that Suzuki line and somewhere else and Muzzin is focusing on the Dano, like it's just great. It's just interesting to see like over a 7-game true series, how it's all going to go.
Well,
like I would imagine Toronto's going to just want to play their game and have Montreal try to adapt. I would assume Montreal's going to try to slow things down and just clog it and try to, be more of a counteract team. But, Ducharme in the playoffs running his show. I mean, it's new to all of us. I don't know how he's going to approach this. Like,
yeah.
cute.
And for the most part, Toronto keeps their lines the same.
Yeah.
I mean, one guy might go up this, but I mean, you're going to have Marner, Matthews, you're going to have Tavares, Nylander, and then you're going to have the bottom six. I think Montreal is probably more ideal to move and mix and match their lines more. So, I mean, Anderson may start with the fourth line, but Anderson might play in every single goddamn line in that series.
That's
so
based on Ducharme's track.
Yeah.
We can't keep up with the
Kotkaniemi, I don't think he's going to stay on the fourth line. I just think Montreal has so many guys that can just play. Because, I mean, for the most part, they're all not superstars per se, but they're all above average players. Yeah. So they can all mix and match, I think, a lot better than. So I think that might be, a thing to look out for.
Oh, definitely. That is the hardest thing when it comes to the Habs team. Like they have guys who can play in pretty much every role. Not any of them, except maybe Gallagher, is going to be elite, and Toffoli maybe as well is going to be elite. Upper echelon in that role. But guys slide up and down, and like beginning when we got down to the Habs fourth, and I'm like, Anderson, there's no way. They're definitely finding minutes for him out there because he's going to be this series, getting in on the forecheck, throwing the body. Like that is going to be, I think, the Habs' identity, and he's going to be a huge part of that. Definitely.
I just think they split. Like part of me wants to put Anderson up with Suzuki and Toffoli, but then I feel like our whole team, the whole basis of it is having four lines that can go. Because we don't have that superstar where our money's in the in net, so that's why Anderson separated seems like it makes more sense because that's on our end. That's when you can exploit that third pairing on D when you can get it, or get a tired Muzzin after playing the Suzuki line, or it's just so interesting. Home ice advantage plays a lot, but at the end of the day, I mean, who are we kidding? These teams know each other so well now.
Exactly.
Like the rules, it's going to be the playoff rules that kind of might sway something. But I think getting to the goaltending topic is, could be where all this is, won or lost, because you got.
That's a good point, because both power plays are shit. So
Yeah,
I mean, it's not. I don't think either team can rely on their special teams to necessarily winning the series. So I think it's going to be like the little adjustments and the 5-on-5. I think it's going to be the difference in the series, not special teams.
Yeah, and thankfully, like, I'm just glad there's no 3-on-3 bullshit. Like,
yeah.
let's be honest. Like, you go into a 3-on-3 with Toronto, I just roll my eyes and be like, well, fuck's sakes, like, let's go through this again. One mistake and it's over. Mind you, we couldn't start an overtime to save our lives in 3-on-3, but I'm just glad that's done. Now we have 5-on-5 hockey, and it's
sudden death.
Yeah, and then to get to that sudden death moment, I'm so glad I'm no longer living in Halifax with all my old friends, because I would, pay the price if we lost. But it's just
there's going to be a few of them. There's definitely going to be a few sudden death overtime.
Oh yeah,
counting on that in this series. I mean, yeah.
It's a foregone conclusion.
So like you get Jack Campbell now. The guy. Did the Leafs win tonight? Is the game over?
It's 3-2 Winnipeg.
That's why you're being more modest now and nicer guy to talk to.
I've been saying it for weeks.
Winnipeg.
I want to play. I don't care about regular season anymore. These games have been so boring lately. Like, just give me to
I've been saying the same
playoffs.
thing as well. It's gotten really stale. The whole North Division face the same team. Like, there were games even against the Leafs where normally any other, doesn't matter what time of the season you're in. If we're playing the Leafs, I'm fucking up for it. If we're playing the Bruins, I'm fucking up for it. But it was literally like, okay, 9th time this season.
Like, exhibition games at the end, pretty much.
Yeah,
it didn't mean anything.
We knew who was going to be in.
Yeah,
Calgary was mathematically eliminated weeks ago. So yeah, it'll be nice to get it back. Where we're supposed to be, but